Are you thinking about moving to North Idaho but wondering which cities you should absolutely avoid? Look, I've been helping families relocate to this beautiful region for years, and while most of North Idaho is incredible, there are definitely some spots that might not be the best fit for newcomers. Today, I'm going to share the 5 cities that consistently cause problems for people moving here, and more importantly, I'll tell you exactly why these areas might derail your North Idaho dream. Hey, I'm Reed Wilson with Revealing North Idaho, lifetime resident here in the Idaho area, 10 years in the North Idaho area. I've been an Idaho real estate agent for the last 20 years, and we come at you every week with new information about North Idaho and what's going on up here. So if you're looking to just learn more about North Idaho or considering a move this way or relocating, then this is the place to be. Me and my team, we talk to people just like you every day looking to make the move, and we love to help make your move to North Idaho a smooth transition. Be sure to reach out if you would like any information on our North Idaho Relocation Guide or Buyer's Guide. We would be happy to share that information. All our information is in the comments below. But today, what we're going to talk about is what nobody's telling you about moving to North Idaho, and that is not every city here is going to give you that perfect mountain lifestyle you've been dreaming of. Let's talk about 5 cities I would avoid if I was moving here, and we're going to get after it right now. You can see we've outlined here 5 cities here in this North Idaho area that I want to talk to you about today. And we're going to start down here in this Silver Valley area. And that includes the Kellogg, Pinehurst, a lot of that area right down in here. And the reason we're going to start down there is they've had some challenges there over the years. And here's based on just some of the information that I've gleaned over the years being here and what I could look up. You know, one of the biggest reasons I would stay out of the Silver Valley area, it is home to one of the biggest Superfund sites, the Bunker Hill Superfund site. And it was a very complex federal environmental cleanup site that they did there, and a century of historical mining and smelting operations, particularly at that Bunker Hill mine in Kellogg, led to a lot of widespread contamination with heavy metals, lead, arsenic, and zinc. Lead contamination, decades of lead smelter emissions, and the dumping of mine waste directly into local rivers and streams have left lead in the soil, sediments, and even house dust throughout the region. Health concerns, of course. This contamination poses serious health risks, particularly to young children who can suffer from development delays, behavioral problems due to lead exposure. Adult residents also face risks like high blood pressure, memory loss. While extensive cleanup efforts have been underway since the 1980s, the contamination remains the persistent issue. The EPA provides guidance on how residents can reduce their exposure. Economic social challenges. The decline of the mining industry in the 1980s due to falling silver prices and environmental regulations led a major economic turndown in the area. Limited job market and low wages. The closure of the mines resulted in a massive loss of jobs and a significant population decline. Today, the job market is often described as limited with low wages. Many residents rely on bring your own income through remote work. High poverty. Shoshone County, which includes Kellogg, has a poverty rate higher than both the state and national averages. Strained community services. While there are crisis and resource centers to help with issues like domestic violence, the general lack of social services and programs that assist with housing or job issues is a concern there with residents. Limited amenities and even some political divide. So for travelers or a newcomer, the area's small town nature can be a significant drawback, along with reported political atmosphere, which is positive for some and maybe negative for others. So limited amenities beyond basic necessities, the Silver Valley offers very limited social scene and scarcity of amenities. For example, a real grocery store is going to be in a different town. There's a Walmart that's up in Smelterville requiring residents to have to travel there. But if you're looking for anything different or more extensive than what that can offer, you're traveling to the Coeur d'Alene or maybe even the Spokane area. Political atmosphere, according to some residents in North Idaho, including Silver Valley, and that is why a lot of people come here, has a reputation for being very visible and political demographic, very conservative. The second one on my list is the St. Mary's area. And based on information about St. Mary's, here are a few things that I would think about if I was going to be someone considering to move there, that I think you should be aware of. And one, the St. Mary's area is down here in this southern region. Got Coeur d'Alene up here. And the only ways to get to St. Mary's, you're coming from Coeur d'Alene, is across I-90 and then head down this way. As you can see, that's a pretty windy road. Or you can come down 95 down here to Plummer and come across. Again, you got kind of a windy road, but it sits out here in an area that, as you can see, may not have the best access for a lot of amenities. Now, for some people, that might be a positive. For others, I think that might be something that is going to be a concern depending on what you're looking at. But some of the things that we have looked at is, number one, the local economy in St. Mary's has faced significant challenges, particularly since the decline of the timber industry that once dominated that area. This has led to a weaker job market, lower wages compared to the state and national averages. Poverty rate. The poverty rate in St. Mary's is higher than the average for Idaho and Benoit County. For someone without a remote or an independent income, finding a job that offers a living wage can be difficult. Limited industries. The town's economy is no longer driven by a single industry. And while there are some jobs in healthcare, local government, and service sectors, the overall employment rate is lower than the state's average. Isolation and limited amenities. St. Mary's is a small, relatively isolated town, as we were seeing on the map. And for those that are accustomed to a wider range of amenities and services found in larger cities, so like shopping and dining, while the town has some essential services like a couple grocery stores, got an IGA, a Harvest Foods, a few local restaurants, residents may feel the need to travel to larger cities like Coeur d'Alene, which is about an hour's drive, or on over to Spokane, which is about another 20-30 minutes from there, for a little more extensive shopping, dining, or entertainment options. Healthcare. While St. Mary's has a local Benoit Community Hospital, it is a critical access hospital, meaning it has limited number of beds. It may not offer the full range of specialty services, medical services for, some of those more complex or special healthcare needs that maybe some people have. Those residents would need to travel to a larger medical center, either back up in that Coeur d'Alene area or heading on over into the Spokane area. While the cost of living is generally lower than the national average, the housing market presents unique challenges. The housing market can be described as, let's say, unusual. It can be difficult to find a decent house that is not overpriced, and the rental market is often described as limited. Some sources note that the influx of new residents, especially those paying cash, has driven up the home prices, making it a little harder for locals to find affordable housing. It's also created an increase in some taxes. Small town social dynamics is a small town. St. Mary's has a close-knit community feel, which can be a positive for some, but a negative for others. Some residents may find it challenging to integrate if they are not from the area or if their social political views do not align with the town's concerns. Okay, next, let's talk about Plummer. That's the third one on my list. Plummer, Idaho is an area that, we have a few considerations that might be relevant to anybody that's considering moving there. And I think the first one, again, is some of these economic challenges. Plummer faces significant economic challenges. The town has a higher poverty rate than both the state and national averages. And while the median household income has seen some recent growth, it remains relatively low for someone without a pre-existing job or independent income. Finding employment that offers a living wage can be difficult. The local economy is limited and job opportunities are scarce, with low wages being a common complaint. Limited amenities and isolation as a town. Small rural town, Plummer lacks a wide range of amenities. As you can see, Plummer sits out here, and again, if we look at, here's Coeur d'Alene up here, although it's a little easier to get to than St. Mary's. It does sit down here off of 95. As you can see, you're about 30 minutes outside of Coeur d'Alene, which isn't too bad. So if you had to commute, you could. There are avenues to get over to that Spokane area. If you needed some additional services, but there again, if you're trying to stay within an area where you can find a job and you can't or don't want to travel for amenities like shopping, medical services, something like that, you're going to find some frustration here in this area because, shopping and dining, there are very few options, and especially for the more extensive needs, you're traveling up to Coeur d'Alene or over to the Spokane area. Entertainment, other than the casino that's up the road, there is not much entertainment out that way. And so it offers very limited social entertainment. There is some recreational activities, there by the lake and Hayburn Park, but you got the Trail of the Coeur d'Alene. So if you like to get out and walk and bike ride, but those can all be easily accessed from maybe better areas that might offer more amenities. So this could be negative to some. Again, social and political atmosphere is what I always hear a lot about. It's a small town, strong conservative culture. The region is known for often, being very conservative, but, that's pretty much that whole North Idaho region. That's why a lot of us came here, just because a lot of our views align. Some do feel like there is some discrimination with some of that if you're not religious or a MAGA supporter or some of those things. And so for those people, it's probably not a good fit. And that's why we talk about some of these things, because we don't want you to come and be disappointed in an area that you thought was going to be something and ends up being another. So anyway, third was Plummer. Okay, number 4, the next one I was thinking about was a little place called Oldtown. And so if you were thinking about moving to the Oldtown, Idaho, most of you probably haven't even heard of it. Let's talk a little bit about Oldtown. First of all, one of the biggest reasons is, which is kind of a common theme in all these that I've looked at, is high poverty and economic challenges. So Oldtown has a poverty rate significantly higher than the national average. Approximately 15.9% of the population lives below the poverty line compared to the national average of 12.4%. While the median household income has seen recent growth, it remains lower than many other areas, and the highest paying industries are limited, with many of the jobs being in retail and administrative services. So, what we're seeing is, let's take a look at where Oldtown is. Right up here is where Oldtown is. Now, as you can see, Coeur d'Alene is down here. Got Spokane over here. And so this is typically, you can come right up 41 and people get up here to this little town of Oldtown. And Oldtown, it's kind of a blend of Newport, so I'm going to really kind of blow this up. But as you can see, Oldtown is right here. Here's the line. So those that live in Oldtown really kind of share all the services of its neighbor Newport, Washington. So that can create another issue, because if all your services in the next state, you've got to deal with some of those issues like the higher gas prices. You've got you got a lot of different taxes there in that Washington area. You've got limited services. I think there is some little medical services here in that Newport area, but there again, you've got another state, so you got to make sure that your insurance is going to be accepted over there. Again, limited amenities. There is, a Safeway there, but other than that, there's not a lot of amenities there in that area. Some of the issues that have been found in that area, back in 2009, I know they've been trying to work on some of that, but some of the issues were inadequate public services, including infrastructure. And as we continue to grow, I think we're going to continue to see that, especially if there's not a lot of money there in that area. A lack of adequate wastewater collection and treatment systems, and an inadequate domestic water supply system, limited public administration facilities, as well as a lack of public parks and recreation. Again, it's a small area, so there's not a ton of money in that area, but it just isn't going to have a lot of those amenities. Social life, the town has very limited options. There again, for the shopping, dining, entertainment, anything that, all these things that would require residents to travel to other nearby cities, or, especially medical, you're headed back down in that Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls, or back over into that Spokane area. Housing and employment, generally lower than the national average. The market can be challenging for a lot of prospective residents. The home ownership rate in Oldtown is 46.1%, which is significantly lower than the national average of 65%. So job market is very limited, and while employment in the area has seen some growth, the overall economy is not robust. For ambitious individuals, this could be a major negative as a career growth and advancement opportunity, and those may be hard to come by without working remotely or commuting to the larger city. Last one on my list, number 5, is going to be Clark Fork. And again, many of you are probably wondering where in the world Clark Fork is. We've done some videos on Clark Fork. It is beautiful over there. But as for most people moving to that area that may have a lot of needs, again, we're going to have some issues with limited job market and low wages. The job market in Clark Fork is very limited. It does not offer a wide range of opportunities. The largest industry in the area is going to be retail, healthcare, some public administration. There is some tourism, with hunting and river rafting, those types of things. But employment in the town has kind of seen a decline. While the median household income has grown, it remains lower than the national average. This can make it very difficult to find a high-paying job, and many residents may need to commute to nearby Sandpoint or over to Montana or Washington for work, some of those areas, so that they can get the income that they need to survive or find some remote work. So let's take a look at where Clark Fork is. And as you can see, Clark Fork sits way out here to the east of the state. So we've got Sandpoint right up here. Here was that Oldtown area we talked about. We have Coeur d'Alene down here. So you would have to take 95 all the way up to Sandpoint, and then on this Highway 200 on out here. And then as you can see, it comes right out here to the Montana border. So Clark Fork, very small town, beautiful. if you really like that small town feel and beautiful landscape with a lot of privacy, might be the place. But you know, if you're not needing to come in and find a job that's going to, that you're going to have to, you know, take care of a family on because of the limited job market, access is going to be very limited there. If you're going to have any health care, you're going to be running back over here to this Sandpoint area where there is some smaller medical services, but there again, that's going to be limited. So if you have any special needs or need certain type of specific healthcare specialist or whatever that looks like, then you are coming down here to this Coeur d'Alene area or over here to the Spokane Valley or into Spokane right here, where they've got bigger hospitals, more amenities, and more services. Lack of amenities and services, it is a small town. You know, there's just very little stores there. If you're going to do any, you know, most of your grocery shopping is going to probably be done over here in this Sandpoint area where they do have a Walmart, but there is very little amenities there. In that Clark Fork area, there is, you know, unless you're hiking, hunting, some of those things, but if you're looking for entertainment or that type of thing, there's going to be very few options. Dining, shopping, you know, residents are having to travel to these larger cities for more expense. Anyway, that's my list of the 5 cities that if I was moving here to the North Idaho area that I would be avoiding. You know, let me know your thoughts below. Send me a comment, you know, let me know, did I miss the ball on any of those? Is there some that I should have had on the list? Is there some of those that maybe I should have kept off the list because things have changed, or maybe I'm not seeing it the way that maybe I should? But hey, let me know. Again, if you want our relocation guide, you know, send us an email, send us a text. We're happy to share our relocation guide, our buyer's guide. Let me know in the comments below. Reach out if you have any questions. Like I said, my team and I, let us know how we can help make your move to North Idaho a smooth transition. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next video.